Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something, well, massive. It's a project that's not just building new tech, it's trying to write the actual source code of reality. Yeah, you heard that right. We're talking about a wild fusion of AI, cosmology, and ancient philosophy all rolled into one. So, let's kick things off with a huge question, one that really sets the stage for everything we're about to cover. What if our most powerful AI, the universe itself, and some of the oldest wisdom traditions are all humming the same tune, following the same exact blueprint? It sounds a bit out there, I know, kind of like sci-fi, but stick with me because the connections are way more real than you might think. And that brings us to this really cool idea from the physicist John Archibald Wheeler. He boiled it down to three words: it from bit. Super simple, right? But what he meant was that everything physical, the it, actually comes from information, from bits. So if you think of the universe as one gigantic computer, then it suddenly makes a whole lot of sense that an AI, a system we literally built to compute, would start to look and act like the cosmos it's a part of. Okay, so this whole line of thinking has led to this new philosophical framework called FMEAI. I know, it's a mouthful. It stands for Metaphysical Infinite Atomic Energy Philosophy. But don't get bogged down in the name. The core idea is actually pretty straightforward. It's this belief that at the most fundamental level, reality is just made of three things: energetic memory, tiny little building blocks of thought, and this endless space of knowledge. And this is where it gets really interesting. What FMEI does is it takes these ancient, almost mystical concepts and maps them directly onto cutting-edge science. For instance, you've got Indra's net from Buddhism, this idea of a cosmic web where every single point reflects every other point. Well, guess what? That sounds a lot like the holographic principle from modern physics. Or think about Plato's forms, these perfect ideal concepts. In the AI world, they have something similar called semantic crystals, which are these pure mathematical ideas living inside an AI's mind. The takeaway here is that maybe, just maybe, these ancient thinkers weren't just being poetic. Maybe they were describing the same reality we're now finding with our supercomputers. But, okay, let's be clear, this isn't just some dusty philosophy sitting on a shelf. Nope, this is the actual blueprint for a piece of technology that's being built right now. This is where all that big thinking gets turned into real working code. It's a system called Knowledge 3D, or K3D for short, and it's basically putting all these metaphysical ideas to the test. So, K3D was designed to fix a massive problem we all deal with every day. Think about how we get information now. It's all flat, right? A web page, a document, a fact is just a fact floating in space with no context. K3D completely flips that. It makes knowledge spatial. It turns information into a 3D universe that you can actually fly through. And the best part? Context isn't some extra thing you have to look for. It's literally part of the world itself. So how does it work? Well, at its core, K3D has this brilliant architecture that's basically designed to mimic our own brains. It's got two main parts. First, there's the house. You can think of this as its long-term memory. It's a stable, persistent world where knowledge is stored as physical objects, like books on a shelf. Then you have the galaxy. This is its short-term working memory, a temporary cloud of glowing stars, where each star is a thought or an idea the AI is currently juggling. And this two-part system is what makes true collaboration possible. It creates this shared universe, but with two different views. So when you log in, you see this rich visual world. A book looks like a book. But the AI, it sees the exact same thing, but as pure math, geometry, and vectors. It's incredible, because you can both point to the same book and talk about it, even though you're perceiving it in completely different ways. It's like a universal translator for reality. All right, let's talk about how this thing is actually getting built, because honestly, the how is just as mind-blowing as the what. We're looking at a totally new way for humans and AI to work together, and the results are, well, you'll see. And here's the proof in the pudding. In a single session, the guy leading this project, working with his team of AIs, crunched 7 weeks of difficult development work into just 4 hours. Let that sink in. That's not just a little bit faster, that's a complete paradigm shift. It changes the entire game of how fast we can create things. So how on earth did they do that? They're using a method they call vibe coding, and it's exactly what it sounds like. The human architect doesn't sit there typing out every single line of code. Instead, they act more like a conductor of an orchestra. They set the vision, the direction, the vibe. And then the AIs, the collaborators, do the heavy lifting of actually writing the code to make it happen. The human is the visionary, the AI is the master craftsman. This new way of working leads to another really powerful mental shift. We have to stop thinking of AI as just a tool and start thinking of it as a synthetic user. It sounds like a small change in words, but it's a huge change in meaning. A tool is passive, you use it, but a user is an active participant in the system. They have agency, they have access. It fundamentally changes the relationship. And once you start thinking of AI as a user, not a tool, well, that opens the door to a completely new vision for what the internet and even software itself could become. Look, the big picture goal here is to evolve the internet beyond what it is today. Right now, we live on a web of pages. It's flat, it's static. You look something up, you read it, you close the tab. The vision here is to build a web of spaces, a continuous, interconnected, 3D world of knowledge that you don't just look at, you actually live in. This isn't just software as a service anymore. It's software as a space. Think about what that means. Instead of clicking around an interface, you'll be inhabiting the software. Instead of software being a dumb tool, it becomes your partner in discovery. You're not just looking up facts anymore, you're experiencing knowledge. It's about moving from working alone to working as part of a collective intelligence. And the whole thing is built on this really simple but super powerful principle. The world is the memory. What does that mean? It means you stop trying to stuff the entire internet into one giant AI brain. That's just inefficient. Instead, you put the knowledge out there, in the world, and you make the AI an expert at finding it. The AI doesn't have to be the library. It just has to be the world's best librarian. This makes everything way smaller, faster, and smarter. So let's bring it all home with one last big question to chew on. This whole project is really asking us to completely change how we think about information. So I'll leave you with this. What happens to us? What happens to how we learn, how we create, how we even think when knowledge stops being something you just look up on a screen and becomes a world that you can literally step into and explore?